Hi, Vamsi. It's great to have you on the podcast today. How you doing?
Thank you so much, Adam. Pleasure. And I was really waiting to jump on your podcast from a long time. Yeah. I'm happy that
Yeah,
it came out.
yeah. No, same here. I'm really grateful to have you on, and I'd just like to say, Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to people listening, and hope you all had a great Christmas if you celebrate Christmas, and yeah, and I just thought I'd introduce you by kind of asking you how you kind of got into what you do because I see you're the podcast host of Authority Entrepreneurs Podcast. You coach and help and mentor people as well. Like, how did you kind of like come into like these things?
Adam, long story, but I'll try and
Yeah.
put it in a crisp way. So I come from the corporate world. Basically, I spent about 13 years as a sales and marketing expert. Worked with startups to multinationals within that time frame, and there was this time during April 2018 when I had a very short stint with my last organization. I had a huge disconnect with what was expected of me versus what I was doing on the ground. So that kind of died a short death. So I had to move away from that role. I had to call it quits within 5 months. So when I came back home, it was a very awkward situation for me at that point because my shortest stint till that date was about 22 months, which was my first job, you know. So I kind of wanted to contemplate whether I should go for another role or should I kind of look at entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship was something which was on top of my head for almost 2.5 years at that point. I had an opportunity of working with some of the brightest minds who were able to launch their ideas, give it some kind of life, and started building some really cool business in the back end. So entrepreneurship was there, but the kind of opportunities I had in the corporate world that I was given, I was very happy with what I was doing. So but when this particular time kind of came up, I thought, let me just take a break for a moment, because my last thing didn't go right the way I probably anticipated it to be. So I took a break for about 32, 33 days, and then when that moment came in where I thought, okay, now this is time for me to sit down and really look at what I want to do. I kind of wrote down the pros and cons of looking for another role versus getting into the world of entrepreneurship. So when I started writing out, I saw that I had no debts, I had no mortgages. I didn't even have a credit card till like 8, 9 months ago. So, and my kid was 1 year old. So his schooling and all of that kind of, academics, the tuition and all that kind of stuff was almost a couple of years away from that point. So everything looked for, the stage was set for me to kind of go and explore the world of entrepreneurship, right? In quick words. So I thought, let me take the plunge. And I've always been that risk taker all my life. Whether it is about joining a company which didn't really have a big brand by itself, something which is a startup. I'm not even sure whether it would last for the kind of time that probably people would perceive it to be. So I've always been a risk taker, even in the corporate world as well. So I took the plunge finally, and but one of the things that when I go back and look at that day when I took the plunge today, if I go and kind of do a retrospection of it, I had no one to tell me where I should be heading, no coach, no mentor, absolutely had no clue about what kind of niche that I belong to, didn't even had an idea of who I wanted to serve. As an entrepreneur, these are some of the biggest answers that you need to have, before you even start getting into the world of entrepreneurship. So I started getting into that, and I chased a lot of shiny objects. There are about 7 shiny objects that I've chased till April of 2020. So I tried my hand at affiliate marketing, realized that it's a long game, and you just can't expect to spam your links everywhere on the internet and expect people to buy, and that's not how affiliate marketing is done. So I kind of given it a pause, then got into designing funnels. I saw a lot of people flashing their income screenshots everywhere on the internet saying, for a 3-page funnel design, I did $2,000, $3,000, that kind of stuff. So I thought, there should be something which, these people are doing smartly, and why should I not go and, look at something like that? I went, I took a course. There were about 5 to 6 different challenges, about 20 challenges to be able to become a pro funnel designer as it is. So I took the challenges about 4 5 into the program. I realized I didn't have a design bone in me, so I quit that. Then got into marketing consultation, which is the area that I really love doing because I spent a lot of my time in the corporate world as a sales and marketing specialist. So that kind of didn't really gone too well as well, because the kind of clients that I was serving, they wanted everything, but they didn't have either they had very little budgets or they didn't have any budgets, you know. So then I moved on to another direct sales opportunity, then into a marketing agency. So I was literally chasing every single opportunity on the internet which would make me believe that this is what you were looking for the last 18 20 months, you know. So I didn't even realize that, having someone to mentor you, having someone who has already walked the path, coach you on where you want to go and why you have to do a thing in a particular way, was so important. So, but April last year, I was playing badminton with my wife on my rooftop, and suddenly out of nowhere, I mean, I don't know how much people will believe what I'm saying, but out of nowhere, I had this thought about, I networked with a lot of people in the last 14 months. People who have made 6 figures, 7 figures, even some of them 8 figures, and they do consistently every single year. And this was during the global lockdown. Pandemic was at its peak, and every single place on this earth was under the lockdown. So I thought, if there was any better time on the earth right now to be able to bring these people on a common platform like a virtual summit, where and I wanted to do this virtual summit for people like me. And because while the pandemic hit, almost everyone were losing jobs, and there were these people who had really high aspirations about becoming entrepreneur, but they didn't know, like me, there was no direction. They didn't know what to do, how to do, and all that kind of stuff. So I thought, if I can bring these people that I have networked personally in the last 14 15 months of what I have been doing, and get them to talk to all these people who would sign up for this virtual summit on how they can start launching their own their own services, products, that they could probably start their entrepreneurial journey. So I got down. I still remember it was 26th of April, and at around 7 o'clock in the evening, I started sending out messages to about 10 15 people that I know closely, who I believe that they would probably read my message because I was already friends with them on Facebook. So I sent messages on Messenger, and by 11 o'clock in the night, about of the 15 people that I've sent messages, 11 of them said yes, they want to come on my virtual summit as a speaker. And I was like, I was on to something with this. So these are people that I know are extremely busy. Their time is not something which is a free commodity on the internet. So when they said that, Vamsi, we believe in what you are doing, I think this is something which is like the need of the hour for people who are suffering from losing jobs and want to do something on their own, don't have the amount of money to be able to spend on paid ads to keep their business running. So when that kind of started, so with that little encouragement that I got, I sent the message to a few more people. And within the first 3 days of doing my outreach, I had about 35 people accepting to be on my summit. So it was, so summits are not something which is my expertise as such. I never knew how a summit is done in the back end. I have been able to particularly participate in a couple of summits as as a participant, but I didn't really knew the nuances of how a virtual summit is conducted in the back end. So I kind of reverse engineered everything from what I attended from a few previous summits, and I started getting on their calendars, started blocking their time, and like a very similar setup that you see here right now. I started getting on Zoom calls with them, and they started presenting something which was so valuable, something which they have never ever put out on the internet as such. The question that I asked them was that, what is that one marketing strategy that has changed your business from failure to success and brings a lot of organic leads and traffic to your funnel or to your funnel or website? So that was the one question that I've asked to all the 35 speakers, including me, and that summit just changed my life forever. So it had people like Steve Larson, Marley Jacks, Gabe Schillinger, Akbar Sheikh. If people listening to the podcast right now know the ClickFunnels community by any chance, these are some of the biggest names in that community. And those entrepreneurs kind of accepted to be on this summit. So that one event was so eventful in my life that it just catapulted me from someone who is unknown to unstoppable. you know so that's been my story in terms of what I was able to do in the last 18 to 20 months of my entrepreneurial journey. uh, Coming to the question about how the Authority Entrepreneurs podcast kind of took birth, right? So when I started, post summit, after all of this nice things have happened after the summit, one of the things that I realized, Adam, is that I came into this world of entrepreneurship as a sales and marketing expert. It's not someone who just got out of the college, saw some shiny objects, and kind of wanted to make money online on the internet and do all that kind of stuff. But when I came to this online world, I was an expert of something. I did something consistently for good 13, 14 years in my career, but that didn't really help me make the cut. Especially when I wanted to do something on my own, and I was able to see that problem with almost every single person that I was interacting with. Now these are all experts. They are Facebook expert, they are YouTube marketing expert, someone is very good with Google Ads, someone is a copywriter, someone is a content writer. So they are experts in each of their own skill and the field that they are representing. But one of the things that I saw particularly was that because they are only an expert in what they are doing, they had the opportunity to only work with a handful of people, which means that they had to always do the push marketing to let the world know that, hey, I'm an expert of this particular trade. If you have a requirement for anything that I am an expert of, here I am. You can trade my time for money. And that's the kind of marketing everyone was doing, versus someone who is an authority in the same space. They wouldn't really do a lot of push marketing. In fact, they would do pull marketing. So they would go or do a Facebook live, they put up an Instagram post, they put up a Facebook post, and people start herding on to their offers. So that kind of really made everything black and white for me. So it's not bad to be in the position of an expert. An expert as such, is what is bringing money to the table, the kind of impact that you want to do on the world. But if you can transition from that expert to an authority in what you're doing, that's where the entire world, the way the world perceives you, the way people look at you completely changes. You can impact more people when you become an authority. You can charge premium for your courses, for your masterminds, your coaching program, whatever is a product or service inside your business. And that's what I kind of had started seeing, like on a 70 screen. And I really enjoyed the journey of interviewing entrepreneurs like you on my virtual summit. So I thought, is there a platform on the internet right now which will help me continue interview these top notch minds in the world of entrepreneurship, in the niche that I am in, and also help people transition from this expert to an authority in the business. you know and for me, podcast was the apt and the right platform for me to get on, because I would be able to continue my journey of interviewing people. A virtual summit can always happen, sometime mid of this year I plan to do my next virtual summit. But this journey of learning different stories, I believe that each and every entrepreneur story is as unique as your fingerprint. you know they have a unique story. Their challenges are different. You might still, if you interview 10 Facebook ads expert, while they're still doing the same thing, their stories are very different. you know so I thought, if I can bring these successful entrepreneurs who have already walked the path, have seen that transition of going from that point A to B, from the expert to an authority in what they are doing. And if the listeners of my podcast can get one nugget every single episode, and they can go back and implement that inside their business, and that can completely change the way they look at their business, my mission is accomplished. If I can help as many entrepreneurs as possible transition from that expert to authority phase, and get this through those successful entrepreneurs who have already walked the path, exactly know what they have done, going from a mediocre entrepreneur, someone who chased shiny objects like me, someone who didn't see the 5-figure days in a month, and how they have actually started doing that inside their business. If they can spill those secrets on the podcast, and which is what exactly I do on Authority Entrepreneurs podcast, that would probably indirectly will impact a lot of entrepreneurs lives. And when they implement those learnings inside their business, that would again has a another immediate effect where they are impacting more and more lives with the product and service that they have for the world. So that's how Authority Entrepreneurs podcast kind of took birth.
No, that's awesome, and I think it's amazing how, like you said, you've been able to pivot in what you're doing as well. Because you said, like, you reached out to people on Facebook and just kind of plunged yourself into it and
Yeah.
just networked and just built it and just tested it out and just went out there, out of your comfort zone to just take that action and do it. Because, like you said, the pandemic, people losing their jobs and in situations that kind of unprecedented, and it's like you're thinking, what can I do in that space, and really kind of providing value and helping other people through what you're doing and seeing those results by doing that. And I think, like you said, everyone's got a different story and situation of where they're at. Like you said, they might be in the same field of entrepreneurship or podcasting, etc. But like you said, all these different things have happened in their lives, which has then brought them to that point. And I think it's great work what you're doing. And I think that's just the kind of start of it, isn't it, as well? And it's amazing, the impact that can have. And it's crazy to think, if you hadn't have done that, then these things wouldn't be happening.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing for me was like, if someone is hearing to an episode and people would say that guy made a lot of sense by what he just said, why don't I go back and implement that in my business? And in fact, I started receiving that feedback from a lot of people who have already, my podcast is not really old, it's almost what, 45 days, but the kind of people that I started interviewing and the amount of value that they have dropped on that podcast episodes that I have recorded has been at par with some of the biggest podcasts in the entrepreneur segment that we all know. So I think that's basically how it has turned out, and there's so much in pipeline. There's so much in store for the podcast in the months to come.
No, that's awesome, and I think it's great what you're doing, and I think, like you said, you can connect and network with so many people. You just don't know where it's going to lead and how powerful it is. The message that you're spreading, and the work that you're doing, and it's going to inspire other people to take that leap and do, if not the same thing, but similar things as well, or to launch a business or do these kind of summits.
Yeah, I mean, see, I think the virtual summit was just a platform. It was just that launch pad that probably came my way, and I so was in love with the whole process because it's not easy for anyone and everyone to launch a virtual summit, because it really takes some kind of work to be able to launch a successful virtual summit. But having said that, if someone has the time and effort, I mean, if they can put in that work, a virtual summit can actually change the face of your business forever, because that's the only tool on the internet right now, only tool on the
Mm.
internet, which will allow you to build a fat email list. Also brings money to the table in the form of selling tickets if someone is interested to have a lifetime access or a specific time period access that you want to give them to access to all the videos of the presentations of the speakers. You could you could also have many joint venture opportunities with the speakers who have come on your summit as speakers. And one of the things that I personally saw was that for a lot of influencers that you bring as speakers on your summit, they have their high ticket products, and they don't allow anyone and everyone to be their affiliates for selling those high ticket products of theirs, right? And when you invite them and they know the kind of work that you're putting in, that immediately gives you the eligibility to ask them if you can become the affiliate of their high ticket products. And in my case, about 8 out of 10 people allowed me to become their high ticket affiliate, which otherwise I would have never ever would have had the opportunity to even apply for their affiliate programs, right? So there are so many other things which probably may or may not happen. I mean, I may not be able to put everything, but when you start doing these things inside your business, opportunities are abundant. I mean, there might be things that I may not have seen for my own virtual summits, but when you start talking to these entrepreneurs who you bring as speakers, they might throw some surprises which you would have never imagined to come your way. So that's essentially what has happened to me.
Hmm. And I think as well, like, with your doing and similar to kind of what, I'm doing in podcasting is that, like you said, these opportunities and these things that are coming your way, they don't just happen. Like, you have to ultimately put in a bit of work to reach out to people. You need to put something out there, and it's just crazy that some people expect things to come their way and to fall in their place, because you can't sit back here and then just always expect people to come your way. It just doesn't work like
Once
that.
like
Like,
that.
I've had some people who have emailed me because they've heard my podcast or they've seen a bit of content, but I've had to put that content out for that person to then receive it, listen to it, and then reach out. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
and I think it's great that you're doing that, and you're engaging with people, and you're doing something as well that you kind of love, that you love to do, and you've found something that you like. Whereas the majority of people, sometimes there's nothing wrong with working jobs that you don't like, but if you can work that, then find something on the side, to then build on. Which people have more time now on their hands due to probably COVID to have that space to do that. Do you
Yeah.
think?
I mean, yeah, I mean, you said it right. There is no freelance, right? Without putting up work, I mean, you have to create your own opportunities. There's no one who is going to do the work for you. So, and I strongly believe, and I've personally experienced this, the world of entrepreneurship has no mercy. I mean, if you don't put in the work, it will throw you out of your business within no time. So, I think you have to be on top of your toes every single day. Treat every single day as your first day of your business. Have the same passion, have the same love. Be very clear about the kind of mission and vision that you have for your business. If that's not something that you are really love doing it, I think you will be pushed out of what you are doing within no time. So yeah, I mean, whether it's a summit, whether it's a podcast, whether it's whatever you're doing in your business right now, especially as someone who is a freelancer, a solopreneur, entrepreneur, whatever name you want to give yourself, end of the day, it all boils down to taking massive action. I mean, if you don't take action, I don't think success is gonna come any near to you, and you gonna face the wrath of the kind of effort that it requires you to be in the world of entrepreneurship. And you really have to live every single day to be in your business as it is.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think that's a really great point. And would you say, having role models or mentors has helped you, or to have like coaching yourself or anything like that? Do you think, to have kind of mentors and role models to kind of draw from and look at, learn bits from what they've done?
Yeah, so it's as easy as this anecdote, right? So if you're traveling from one part of the city to another part of the city which you don't have any clue about, imagine that you don't have Google Maps and all that kind of technology, right? You have to keep asking people how you have to go, you know or you have to figure it out on your own. And you would probably take, if it takes 30 minutes for you to reach to that point, when you have been given the map exactly on which right, which left, and how many miles you have to drive, versus you trying to figure out 100 different turns, and you don't know where you're going, you probably would not end up going to that place anyway. So that's how basically I look at having someone to coach you, someone to mentor you, who have already walked that path, who have already gone through those roadblocks, have already had solutions for the kind of problems that you might encounter in the next few weeks, next few months, whatever the time frame is. So it's very important that you have someone help you get a very clear picture in terms of what you want to achieve, because as I mentioned, from someone who chased 100 different shiny objects to currently doing one thing, very focused, do my shows for my podcast, and my podcast kind of fuels all my students who I'm getting for the trainings, my one-on-one coaching programs that I'm doing for helping them launch their virtual summits. This is my one point focus. So that transition of going from someone who was chasing so many shiny objects to someone who just have one focus, I think it's just about having someone to tell you that shut up and do this, and not really do 100 things, because it's like, when you chase two rabbits, you know what the result is, right? So that's basically why everyone needs especially in the world of entrepreneurship, if you want to succeed, I think it's very important that you have a mentor or a coach who tells you exactly where you have to go, what you have to do, and be very accountable to the kind of thing you are doing. Because again, being having someone to have an accountability of what you're doing will really push your results, and you will have better results than what you could have taken. For example, if you are trying to launch your own coaching program or a course, you could take 1 2 years to design it, but when someone says that this should happen in the next 8 weeks, and they are asking you every single day, okay, what is the update about the module 1, module 2, module 3? I mean, someone is pushing you, even for the face of embarrassment, you want to sit down and get the work done, right? So that's the kind of importance a coach and or a mentor would have in an entrepreneur's life, and that's been my story as well.
Mm. I think that's heavily important what you mentioned as well. Like, when you have that kind of, it's like someone sat on your shoulder, like seeing what you're doing and getting and kind of reminding you, okay, you've got 8 weeks to do this. And I think, especially if you're paying for that as well, it's, you're paying for that service. Whereas, if you're not doing that, it's that self discipline, isn't it? I think if you're not doing that, you have to be very, very self disciplined. And I mean, it's something that I'm learning, at the minute, with this year, just started. I've got all these different tasks and goals, and right now, I'm personally trying to break them down and trying to prioritize the things that I need to be doing, if that makes sense, like you said, because like you said, you could chase two rabbits, and one's going to go that way, one's going to go this way, and it's a bit like, like mining for something. If you keep on, like I said, keep on homing in on that one thing, it's going to keep on going. If you're doing lots of different things, the impact's probably not going to be the same, is it? So, me personally, that's something that I'm working with at the minute and learning about. But I know I've seen the results through the podcast, through podcasting and focusing in heavily on this, the impact it's had, rather than just doing it a little bit and then doing this a little bit. But it's I think it's all a big learning process, isn't it? Trying to figure out what you need to kind of prioritize and take action on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it perfectly makes sense, because when you are focusing on one specific thing, I think the amount of results, the kind of results it actually throws at you is unimaginable. So having to do one thing also kind of puts you in that seat of doing something very focused. You don't have 100 different distractions. You exactly know what you are gunning for. So that way the results are quick. You don't, whether it's a success, whether it's a failure, the time would tell. But for you to even launch it and to see whether it's that something you want to do or not, if it takes 1 year, it's a huge waste of time. So having to do one thing focusedly is also a blessing, and not everyone will be able to actually sit down and focus on one specific thing, because this world that we are in is full of distractions, right? I mean, the moment you go on your Facebook, there are 100 things. You go on that platform for something, just end up scrolling for something else. You forget why you have been on that platform for the last 40 minutes, you know. So yeah, I mean, focus has been one unprecedented hack that I kind of give myself the credit for whatever has happened in the last few months of what I'm doing in my business. So that would be my one focus for the rest of what I'm going to do in this world as well.
No, I think it's great what you're doing, and I think, like you said, trying to focus on that thing that you're passionate about as well. But I think like sometimes like in the game of entrepreneurship and doing like kind of similar things to the field that we're in, it's kind of, unless you're not paying other people to do it for you, it's kind of all on you. You're the one doing everything. For me, I'm not in that financial place at the minute where I can pay lots of people to do different things for me. Maybe in the future I can probably do that, but right now, I'm doing the podcast, I'm doing my content on social media, I'm networking with people, and all those other bits in between that people don't necessarily see. I know some people who pay people on Fiverr to do those things for them. That's fine, but there is this time aspect of, especially last year, I've been really more mindful of my time, and I think when you're in this game, you kind of have to be, don't you? You kind of have to be quite disciplined with your time, and like you said, there's a lot of distractions, and you can go onto Facebook or Instagram and get caught up in something easily and forget what you was meaning to go on there for. You forget what you had to do. I've done it, and I'm like, I came on here for something, and then it clicks after 10 minutes, or it might not, and you're like, okay, cool. So it's a lot of discipline, isn't it? A lot of self-discipline, and trying to keep on top of things, in an organized way. But like what you said before, it's you've got to just take action. You just got to do it, and if it doesn't work out, you're still going to learn something from it, isn't it? With a world summit or a course or something, because that's better than not doing it and not finding out.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, see, there is always a learning in whatever you're doing. There's nothing like, okay, this was a failure or this was a success. I would probably take the word failure from my dictionary. I would always say that was a learning, you know. So there's nothing right or wrong to anything that you're doing. It's just about whether you took the action, was the result in your favor, or there is something else that you could have improved. So in order to make it work for you, that's the only thing that probably the way I see whatever I'm doing in my business. Even if I'm learning something, launching something, if the launch went well, just make it much better, make it more impactful, so that people get more value from what you're doing. If it doesn't go the way, sit down, don't do a post-mortem, but do a little retrospection of what could have gone better, where you believe things have not gone the way that you probably planned it to be. So those kind of things will give you a lot of clarity when you want to repeat that for the next time. And if you see that you didn't really had the heart in what you were doing, it was not 100% what you saw, you did with that. I mean, that essentially means that it's not something that you love doing every single day. So you probably have to switch to doing something else where you can put in your heart and soul into it.
Yeah, no, exactly, and I think that's so important, and just trying to find out what that is. And I think, like, a lot of people have a script sometimes, don't they, of how life should be, or how they should live their life, or what they get told to do, and comparing themselves to what their friends might be doing or what their family did. And I think you've ultimately just kind of got to go with what you feel, haven't you? And you don't have to just do one set thing in life, do you? You could be be a podcast host, you go into business, you see these people who write books, and then they do painting, and then they'll do something else. It's you got, but I think you just got to find out by taking that action, and it's a real kind of growth process, isn't it? You must have seen it through the people you've connected with, and the work that you've done, and you can see people grow and shift, but by just kind of stepping out of that comfort zone and doing whatever it is.
Yeah, see, I think one of the things that I saw, Adam, is that no one can live your own life. I mean, you have to live your own life. You have to feed your own self. You have to feed your own family. There's no one coming out to your rescue, right? And if people say that, you don't belong to this, you are probably not an expert of that. Go hell with them, because as I mentioned, they really don't have anything to do with your life. So if you want to do something, just go out, give your 100%. It's okay if you fail for the next couple of vacations, but end of the day you did try. I mean, if you, in fact, I read somewhere, if you take action on what you wanted to do, you're already in top 1% of the world. you know so just go and take action. I mean, I think one of the other problems that I see with a lot of people who want to get into the world of entrepreneurship is the limiting beliefs, and they really don't believe that they are made for that. What's the word for that? I'm just um, There's a word for that. I'm not able to
Limited
recall.
limited beliefs,
Yeah, I mean, there's this problem of
self
limiting
doubt.
self doubt. So they would not know that, if they are an expert of doing it while they have spent a lot of time doing all that kind of stuff, right? So I think it's just about giving it a try. There is nothing right or wrong about it. The worst case scenario is that you would fail. Let that come out, but at least you have given it that attempt. I mean, not a lot of people even have the guts to go and put that attempt, give it that 100% and see what the result is, right? So that way I think it's just about go and giving out your full heart out, and see what will happen. And I'm sure 99% of the time you will actually see success, because you have taken the action to go and implement that, versus trying to sit in that room thinking about, no, nothing is happening with my life, my job is not going great, I have a bad boss, I don't know if I can be a success in what I'm doing. So all these limiting beliefs are not going to take you anywhere.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and I mean that's why it's important to read books on, people who have been in those places and then they've turned their life around. I'm reading a book at the minute. I can't reach it. Called The Third Door, and it's this guy who's interviewing these successful people, and it keeps getting rejected and thrown back, but he wasn't like allowing himself to be a victim, of those setbacks. And just listening to other people's lives and what they've been through, like Sylvester Stallone, it's like Rocky, and you think the things that they went through, and it's inspiring, and I think it's important to do that, because it then might make your problem seem very small in comparison of theirs, and it might be like, well, if they can do it, if someone else can do it, then what's stopping you, kind of thing. I say to people with podcasts, I'm like, I most okay, I've got a micro, decent microphone now, but I most of the part do it in my car. I use my phone on a little mounted thing here, and I've got I use my wired headphones. Or before that, I didn't have any headphones. I used to just use my phone, the phone microphone on audio.
Yeah.
So you know, the only person stopping you from doing something is yourself, isn't it? But I think too many people compare themselves. They look at, they overcomplicate it by thinking that I need all this equipment. It needs to be this way. It needs to be that way. Like you could have a very good microphone and talk absolute shit, and have a not no microphone at all, like I did for the most part. And it's that content, isn't it? That context of what you put out. But it's I think a lot of it comes down to the mindset, doesn't it? Really, it's that mindset and how you believe, how you perceive yourself. Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you don't need fancy equipment, fancy cameras, fancy computers to
Yeah.
really set out, do what you want. I mean, it can always come as a part of the journey when you start making money. I mean, where do you want to invest all that money that you're making?
Mm.
Just improve your systems. I mean, systems is what keeps you in your business, right? And all these gadgets, all these fancy equipments that we talk about are a part of the systems anyway. So you don't have to really start with a MacBook Pro and a Rode mic and a Sony camera and all of that. They
Yeah.
all come as a part of the journey. I mean, a lot of podcasters that I know started off with their phone. I mean, like you said, right? And it just don't have to be, again, that's exactly what, and you brought up a really right point. I mean, it's about your willingness to go and put out. I mean, people who genuinely value what you're doing is the content, not the medium, not the gadget, not how beautifully you look on the camera, how your audio is sounding and all of that. Yeah, those really do play an important role, but the first thing that comes, what people take notice of is the content, what you are putting out, either through your Facebook lives, your podcast, your blog post, whatever you're doing in your business, right? It's more about, hey, this guy is talking sense, or this guy, what he wrote makes an absolute, it's an absolute cracker. So I think it's the content. It's not whether the site is beautifully designed, the aesthetics are taken care of, the UI is taken care of. You have put this through something like remaster media, where it cleans out your audio, there are no zooms and ahs in the podcast. Yeah, all of that sounds really nice, but you don't have to start. I mean, that whole imperfect start, is what really gets you in the world of entrepreneurship. All of this perfection to make your audio sound good, your video is in 4K, you use a cinematic background for your Facebook lives, you use a nice Yeti Blue mic and all of that which you're using right now. All of that is going to come handy when people start taking note of you. And if you have
Mm,
everything what we talked about and your content doesn't make any sense, what does that even mean,
mm,
right? So, yeah.
yeah. No, I think that's an excellent point, and I think it's something that I think people would want to see that. They want to see that process, don't they, of where it's come from. Like, do you watch Joe Rogan at all? Joe Rogan. You look at the very first like 10 or 100 or something podcasts he did, and there's like a guy sat on the couch in the background smoking, and then there's like a projector, and then these cameras and a table with stuff everywhere, and the stuff that he's talking about, you're like, what is going on here? But you can see over time the growth in that and that process, and I think that's something that people need to think about, is that process and that time, because we live in a world, don't we? Like you said, there's so many distractions. People want things now. People want that instant gratification, and I think we've all been guilty of it. And um, Amazon. There's nothing wrong with Amazon Prime. I think it's great. But people are so caught up in that wanting it now. It can be quite destructive, because when people have to wait 5 days for something, or then they start freaking out, or feeling tense. But it's that delayed gratification, isn't it? Over time, and that process, that I kind of all has an interplay in it. I mean, that's something I've learned. I mean, I'm only 26, but that's something I've learned through doing podcasting, because I've always liked to get things now. I've always liked to hit the ground running, but it doesn't always work like that, does it? Really? But the benefits kind of outweigh it.
Yeah, I mean, I always believe that imperfect start is the way to start, because there is absolutely nothing called perfection. I mean, you could perfect a system like there is no tomorrow, but on top of it, there is something else that you can better. So there's nothing called perfection. You just keep improving the systems as you go, and that eventually will help you better what you're offering, better the kind of systems that you have in place. And yeah, eventually it's all boiling down to, again, having that massive action that you can take inside your business. And that way you have the opportunity to still continue what you want to do, impact all those people that you are kind of trying to help them in their journey of whatever they are going. So that way, and it's so fulfilling, so nice to be able to do your part of what you have been called for into this world. So that way,
Hmm.
you don't you don't really want to work for someone. You want to have this entire thing about freedom in terms of what you're doing. So a lot of people come into the world of entrepreneurship for this quest with freedom, right? But eventually what they end up doing is a 16-hour days, 18-hour days, and they hardly sleep. But what they wanted to do is work for 4 hours a day, spend more time with their kids, with their family, but they just lose that sight of what they are doing. So if you have that focus, you exactly know what you are doing in your life, what
Mm,
do you want to achieve inside your business. I think that 4-hour week, 5-hour week, or the 20-hour week that you initially thought of, and the whole reason why you wanted to get into the world of entrepreneurship, you will be able to meet those ends.
mm. No, I totally agree with you, and I think that's a really great point as well. The fact, when you find out what it is that you want to do, you just go all into it. But like you said, there is that side to it where people they jump into it, and they're doing lots of hours, and it's that balance, isn't it, on your health, your family, and your time, and kind of being able to be aware of all that. Because I think, um, th- I spoke to different people and about time and about sleeping and getting up earlier and things like this. Um, I think you whatever works for you, isn't it? But um, basically, what I'm trying to say is that people say you should get up early so you have more time in the day to do things. But then I've heard people say, well, it's not about that. It's about what you do in that time, if that makes sense. Even if you do get up later, like what do you think around time and that kind of thing?
Oh, so basically, I'm a really late to bed guy.
Yeah.
I could never wake up early in whatever last 35 years of what I have been doing. So I personally go late to bed because I really enjoy this late night. I have the probably my productivity time is best during the late nights, right? So for me, morning, I'm not a morning person, so it's a individual's choice. Um, I mean, people could say that you wake up at 5, do your workout, go for a walk, do your gym, and do all that kind of stuff. But from 7 to, even if you go to bed by 8, 9 o'clock, you have good 12 hours of time. But as you rightly mentioned, what have you done in that 12 hours is what makes sense. So whether it is 7 to 8 or in night 7 to morning 8 o'clock, it doesn't really matter. How much productivity has gone into that time that you have been awake, and what you have done for your business eventually would get you the results what you're doing, whether it's 5 in the morning or 5 in the evening. I think it's my personal opinion. There might be people who would say what I'm talking is shit, but essentially this is my personal belief. Because I'm sure there are a lot of people, especially the people that I've met in this world of entrepreneurship. Most of them are, for some reason, people who are not early to bed kind of people. They have so much to do, even during their nights. And it doesn't really talk anything about your discipline as it is. And a discipline can still be that you go late into the night and you take that good 6 7 hours of your sleep. That is mandatory for everyone to keep yourself healthy, and come out with all the energy that is required for you to give your best for the next day. And again, as you mentioned, it's more about how much productivity you had in those pockets of times that you work during the day, which eventually determines what your business is going to be for the next whatever time frame that you're going to, is what it
Mm,
eventually boils down to.
yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you, and I think it's very true in what you said. And I was thinking, like, do you have any like favorite books? Do you have any favorite books that you've read or audiobooks?
Okay, one of the things that I really want to do this year is at least read 2 books a month. That's like one of the cons. I'm not a guy who is good with resolutions. I believe I'm very bad with resolutions, because I tried a few in the past. I mean, not in the recent years, but probably like 7 8 years ago, I had a few resolutions which I couldn't really keep up with. So I stopped taking any resolutions. But this is, I don't call this book reading that I want to do for this year as a resolution, but something which is very conscious. Because I think in this particular niche and the business that I'm in, it's very important that you are a constant learner of new things. Because if you are not learning, you are really not in your business anymore. You have to be constantly looking at what are the new things that are happening, new techniques, new mindset strategies, new copywriting strategies, and anything that will keep pushing your business to the next level, push the envelope to the next level. I think that's what I have been doing. In fact, I started reading this book from yesterday. So Traffic Secrets by Russell Brunson. I already read the .com secrets and expert secrets almost like 3 times now. I really love the frameworks that Russell has put out, and I have a list of books that I have already shortlisted and added it to my wish list on Amazon. So that way, once I'm done reading these books, I start buying each one of them, and there are almost about 20 to 30 books. So the target for this year is that I complete those books. So at least 24 books this year, two per month is what I really have as a target, and I hopefully can keep up with that wish of reading more.
Yeah. No, that's great, and I think it's good to have that goal in place. Like you said, like New Year's resolutions. I mean, everyone's different. Everyone works differently. I kind of have goals and tasks, but I think New Year resolutions sometimes don't always stick. I think it's how you kind of go about it, because it's like you see people sometimes go to the gym for a couple of months and say I'm going to go to the gym, and it's like it takes 3 weeks to develop a new habit, and especially now it gets dark at 4 o'clock in the UK, where I am. So, you have to really, really want it and to have those benefits. But yeah, I think reading is important, to look at new content and to learn constantly as well. Um, I I've been the opposite from what you said. I tend to you buy loads of books and then I have a big storage of them, and then I'm like, oh no, I need to read all of those, and then I'm trying to get through. But no, reading is important. You learn so much from it, and you can apply. You have to apply that to your life, can't you? People read and expect miracles to happen. You have to take from it and apply that to your life, don't you?
Yeah,
And
it just rewires your brain, right? I mean, it improves your vocab. You get to learn about a lot of new things, something that you never thought you would probably get to know. So I think reading is one such really good habit, irrespective of what you're doing in life. Whether you are a 9 to 5 goer, whether you are an entrepreneur, a freelancer, whatever you're doing in life, I think reading gives a very different perspective to life. And it necessarily need not be self-help books, necessarily need not be
mm,
books that are pertaining to your niche. I mean, I personally love reading science fiction. I have been a huge Sherlock Holmes fan of my life. I've read Sir Arthur Conan Doyle work for a lot of my time. So I it's not just about getting yourself those self-help books and trying to feed in that you have to do this, do that. I mean, it's okay if you love that kind of genre, but it can be any kind of book that kind of keeps you busy with reading certain kind of books that you love in your genre. I think that's probably more important than sticking to one kind of a genre, which it's more also like the herd mentality, right? Someone says that, hey, this particular book live I really love reading. Suddenly you realize, oh, I want to read that book, but is that the genre that you really love reading? I mean, if it is not, don't do it because someone else has given out a feedback about that. But that's my personal take again.
yeah, no, I agree. I think it's good to have a different flavor of books as well, like personal development. You can have business or whatever you want.
Yeah,
I recently bought this book. Give me 2 seconds. I'll just go and get it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Please.
Yeah, I got. I'm sorry, I don't want to make the micro so 1 minute. Yeah, I recently got this book called *Sapiens*. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, I think I have it on my rack. I think I have it on my rack.
Yeah, it's about *Sapiens*, a brief history of mankind. So that's probably links to personal development in some way, but it's more or less about how people evolve from apes and mankind and things like that.
Yeah.
So and then I got that Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey,
Okay. I didn't know about
the
that.
the actor. That's more like an autobiography or kind of his mindset on things. But it's good, isn't it, to have a different books, because you're not going to get bored of the same books, probably, because we can get bored.
Yeah. I completely agree with you on that, Adam, because See, let me tell you this. If you give me, a self-help book or a Sherlock Holmes book, right? I would always prefer the Sherlock Holmes book. That's the kind of genre I love. So it's about, it's again, as I mentioned, it's not about, the world is reading all the biggest self-help books and I should also go and read. Yeah, I mean, it's good if you love, if that book can help you rewire your mindset, help you, look at things with a different perspective, and that kind of helps you in your business. Yeah, I mean, that's okay. But if you love literature, if you love history, if you love fiction, if you love art, if you love comedy, I mean, it doesn't matter, I mean, what book you are reading. It's about reading as a habit itself improves your mood, improves your lifestyle, improves the way you see the world as it is. So it doesn't really matter what kind of books that is.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. And like the more you read, the fact that, that information you take in as well. I've heard, and I don't know the science side of it, but or the how the brain changes. But I know that people have told me you can take in information quicker as well. But just to like kind of like round up, like who would you say your kind of like role models are? Like growing up, or now, or people you kind of like look up to, friends, family, professional people, celebrities, or anything like that.
So I mean, r- anyone who is doing some brilliant work in whatever they are doing, all my role models. I can learn from a 2-year old, I can learn from someone who is 90-year old. So I personally don't believe that, role models keep changing with what you're doing, right? I mean, there's not one consistently you're doing. For example, when I was in my college, I had different role models. When I got into the world of corporate, when I was working, I had different role models. When I came into the world of entrepreneurship, my role models change. Maybe when my business goes to a different level, my role models change. I think my definition of role model is, this guy is doing something better than what I'm doing and I can learn from him. I really don't see their age, caste, creed, the what nationality and all that. For me, what is very important is that I have something to learn from this person. So for example, Russell Brunson is one role model that I look up to for learning marketing, right? Now, Gary Hilbert's Baron letters and all of that, those are really good for you to learn copywriting. Someone who was one of the speakers on my summit is a YouTube expert. He literally took almost 15-20 different channels that he worked in his experience from 0 to 100,000 subscribers. So everyone in within whatever area of expertise that they are doing can motivate you to push that envelope in what you're doing, are my role models.
I think that's really great, and I think it's nice that you like you said, and I think this is important. By not kind of like judging people based on their age or their creed or where they're from, and looking at the things that they're doing, and if they're doing things that are better than you can learn from them and draw from that. And I think that's really really great. And I was thinking, like, where can people find you on like social media around your website and things like that?
Okay, I'm Vamsi Panala everywhere. I mean, whether it's my Instagram handle, my Facebook profile, my Twitter handle. I mean, if personally people want to connect, I drop in a lot of value inside my Facebook group. That's probably where people can connect more personally with me, because that's one place where I interview all my speakers for my podcast. So people get first-hand access to all those interviews before that lands on my podcast, on Apple, Stitcher, and all the other platforms. So because, like, as you are doing it right now, I stream all of my speaker interviews live inside my Facebook group. So for people who want to kind of connect with me and get all the value that I'm delivering for my group members, I think that's the right place to be. So the group name is Authority Entrepreneurs again.
No, that's great. It's great, Ramsey, and I'll definitely share your content and put it in the description and share on my socials as well. And I wish you continued success with what you're doing. I think it's great what you're doing, and it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I wish you all the best.
Same here, Adam, and I wish you a happy new year as well. And I just wish the best of everything that you're doing inside your business for 2021 and the years to come, Adam.
Oh, thank you very much, Vamsi. It really means a lot, and I'm really grateful we could make this happen.
I appreciate and I really enjoyed the conversation. Looking forward to many more interactions.
No, same here. It'd be great. You take care.
You too.